Okay, so it's the first interview of 2025, and what a way to kick off. I'm joined by Benjamin T. Mainwaring from the fantastic band The Nightmares. Firstly, sir, how are you? Thank you for chatting to us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really well, thank you. All good.
Excellent. Now, we're mainly here because I want to chat to you a little bit about your upcoming album, Fire in Heaven, and I believe it's out mid-February. Now,
Yeah, Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day.
oh, it is. Well done for reminding me of that. My missus would kill me if I actually. I was like, "There's my
Yeah,
interview. There's a really cool album coming out." She was like, album. Where's my box of chocolates?"
yeah.
So yeah, now you've given me something to remember. Now, firstly, I wanted to ask, what was the inspiration behind the record's name? Because it's quite a. I dig the name, and it especially fits with the sound of what I've heard of the record so far.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. We were driving in our van on tour somewhere, and our drummer Jimmy was reading a music magazine, and Jazz Coleman from Killing Joke was referring to the guitarist Geordie Walker, who had recently passed away, and he described his, I believe it was his guitar sound, as a fire in heaven. And we were like, he was like, "Ooh, that's nice," and we were all kind of in agreement, and then we just stole it from them. So thank you, Jazz from Killing Joke, for a great album title.
And actually a great story
Yeah,
behind it all. So yeah, now the most recent single, was it Hell Is Gonna Happen? Now this came out just recently on the 15th of January. It's your second single following Dead Roses. What made you choose Hell Is Gonna Happen as the second single?
actually the third, but don't worry
Oh,
about
was it the third? Oh, right.
that.
Well,
But that is okay. Don't worry about that. Yeah, we basically, what I can see how you could get that wrong. We started with a song called "Something in the Dark," which we launched around 2003 last year. We wanted to put that out as like, because it was just a good way to kick off the sort of campaign, so to speak. But at that point, obviously, it was just a standalone single. We hadn't announced an album or anything like that. But we wanted to get something out for 2003 because obviously it's a cool festival. Then with the announcement, we decided Dead Roses was kind of a polar opposite to the post-punk cold sound of Something in the Dark. Dead Roses was more of an anthemic, poppy, sing-along song. And then we wanted to continue to sort of show the diversity within our genre, I guess, with How It's Going to Happen, which is the latest single. Um, I just, I think we just chose it, because we believe it's a great song, but secondly, it just, again, shows the diversity within our world. So like, I think we showcased three different things we can do pretty well across those three singles so far.
cool. Well, at least there's a justified reason why I actually got that wrong with the
Yeah,
regards to the
there is.
single
Yeah, yeah.
releases. But
Oh, no.
no, always call us out when we get something wrong. We have to make sure we are corrected because otherwise the world
Make
makes an
mistakes.
assumption.
Yeah, we
Now,
all make mistakes.
what would you say is your personal favorite track off this record? I mean, one that you can't wait for the world to actually hear.
My favorites, I'm torn between two because there's a song called "Letting It All Go," which is a great song. It's really, I guess, in the world. It's just something that this kind of music that I love. It is that very energetic, um, very. It has a lot of hope in it, although keeps the dark theme. But I have to go with the closer of the album, "Melancholy Waltz," because it features strings, which we've never done before. But it's just a really beautiful song. I think Adam's vocal performance is fantastic on it. I think the playing's really accomplished. It's completely different to what we've done before. It really builds from, well, I won't ruin it, but it builds from the very bottom, very personal, intimate song, and then grows into something far bigger. And also, sort of, in my mind, echoes our love of TV shows like Twin Peaks, in the world of David Lynch, rest in peace. Yeah, so I just think it's a real love letter to that kind of thing, which so I'm very excited for people to hear that.
Yeah. So obviously I've been lucky enough to hear the record already, and I really did enjoy it. There's this something I've found about your band. There's this weird, what I like to feel like is a gothic element to it without it being goth. And it's something
Yeah,
I actually really enjoy.
thank you.
Now, what are the major influences you had in making this record, or what influences did you draw on?
Well, that's an interesting question, especially what you went back to just previously, what you mentioned, sorry, previously, though, is I think we obviously are, as people really into things like sci-fi, horror, and just the macabre, dark side of the world. But at the same time, we do love our pop sensibilities, so like our catchy, um, more upbeat music, like, Blink-182, that kind of thing, Alkaline Trio. And we really wanted to bring those two together as a band. That's kind of the mission statement. And which can probably be quite, like divisive to some people, because, like people that are really into goth, and I love goth music, can be very, post-punk and goth have to sound a certain way. So they're bringing any like sort of other poppier, maybe pop punk elements into it is going to be kind of divisive, I guess. But with this album, we just wanted to expand on the sound of the first. We've added a guitar player, Craig, who is a bit of a virtuoso, and we just wanted to add extra depth to the music and just expand as songwriters and really push the music and the band as much as we can. And I really do, I know it's a cliche to say it, but I really do think that at this point in time, this is the best album we could make. So we're really proud. We're looking forward to people hearing it.
Cool. I would just say, going back to what you said about, like, it might sound divisive, wanting to go for something. Don't let anyone dictate to you about how your music should sound, because otherwise we would never get creativity. Do you know what I mean? And that's one of the things that really drew me to. I can't remember who you were supporting, and I think it was the O2 Islington. I feel it was that venue that I actually saw you and got introduced to you. I might be wrong.
No, we have to. I'm just trying to remember what tour that was. Was it Aaron West? No, no, it wasn't Aaron West.
No.
Who was it? Tiger Army.
It might have possibly been Tiger Army.
I feel like it was Tiger Army and Grave Pledges, but I might be wrong. I'm not sure.
All I remember, I think it was prior to your album Seance coming out. I saw you guys support, and I was just like, okay, something's captivated me here. But anyway, I'm digressing from stroking your ego a little bit there. I wanted to ask, how do you feel this album differs from your last one, Seance?
Again, I think it's obviously the first thing I'd say would be the color, which we changed sort of the theme from red to blue. And although that might seem like a minor detail to a lot of people, we really see color as a reflection of mood. And I think, like, without sounding all too artsy about it, we like the idea of bringing in color, that icy feel to the music. And we obviously, as I say, brought in Craig, so that element added an element to the music. And we really wanted to look into mythology on this album. We wanted to look a bit more into maybe extraterrestrial life, which I'm really obsessed with. And we just wanted to bring those elements in and make it, I guess really the themes are a little bit more, whereas the other one was, I guess, a little bit more into that sort of gothic, maybe vampire-esque world. This one's a little bit more sci-fi, I'd say. A tiny bit, not much, but a sugar on top.
Oh, that's fair. If you're into your aliens and stuff, me and the missus have just started watching this show Three Body Problems on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, I thoroughly recommend it. I didn't think it was going to go the direction it did. So yeah, I'd recommend it if you're into your whole alien, that sort of thing. Now, what process do you as a band go through when you're actually creating your music? How does it all sort of start and come together? And the second part to this question is, what do you actually prefer? Do you prefer writing your songs recording them or actually getting out on tour and playing them live to your fans?
That's a great question. Really good question. For me
Ah,
personally, it always will be, always has been touring. I love touring. I love the driving. I drive our band as well as play for the majority of the time. And there's something about it. I just love the open road. I'm a bit of a road dog, you know. I love the community aspect of it. I love the socializing. I just love that sense of family when you're on the road. So for me, that 100%. But it would vary throughout the band. I know Adam is a keen songwriter and he loves the studio. We really get quite intricate in the studio, and I'd be the wrong person to talk to with that. But Adam is our main songwriter
yeah.
and our guitarist and vocalist. So yeah, it usually comes from a spark. Sorry for the songwriting process. We usually come from an idea. Again, mainly it'll come from Adam, James, our drummer, or Ellie at this stage, and it'll sort of build from there. Then we'll send ideas back and forth through digital means, and then go into the room and sort of work out arrangements. Whether we want to shorten or expand on sections within the song. Previously to lockdown, it was all really done in the room. It would come in with ideas, and then we'd go into everything in the room. But then lockdown happened, the world changed, and first album Seance was written, well, totally through not laptops, but sending sending music back and forth. Yeah, maybe money too.
Here's your bribe, sir.
Music back and forth through email, and sort of adding and getting into that side of creating music. But so this one was a little bit of a split between both. So partly online, not online, but through the exchange of digital file, and partly in the room.
So it's interesting, like, because a lot of my interviews, we still find ourselves talking about COVID, and this isn't one of my questions, but I want to actually touch on it. Do you feel it's actually been quite beneficial how we've adapted, especially when it comes, as you say, recording music? You're not necessarily in a room together, but you're bouncing things back between each other. Do you think that's been beneficial for creativity, for at least maybe for you guys as a band?
Yeah, yes, I think in a way, yes. It was obviously a terrible time for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it forced us into writing the album, that first album. I don't think we would have written it at that point. Our plan was in 2020 to do a lot of touring. And we had a couple of where I've sort of penciled in. Then obviously the carpet got pulled from beneath us all. And then we sort of thought well, we were a band that was, as you said previously, we were playing shows. We had a few things out, but we weren't. We were establishing ourselves. So it was a really awkward time for us to go into lockdown, selfishly from a band perspective, because we were sort of building, but we hadn't really captured anything. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then that year, the plan was to just keep touring and releasing music. Then obviously we went to lockdown. So yeah, it forced us to write the album, and in many ways, it really made it was beneficial, because we wouldn't have written the album, we wouldn't have got the manager we have now, we wouldn't have been able to start talking to the labels that we eventually got with, and so yes, look, short answer is yes, it was beneficial to a degree. Although I'll never fully get over or back past the idea of just having people in a room, playing
Yeah.
music and music. I think at its core is that's the human side of it should remain.
Yeah.
I don't want to completely give it over to the robots just yet.
No, of course. It's an interesting thing that you've said there, because to me it almost felt like a forced evolution of sorts in how we
Yeah,
act and interact with each other. Because I'll be honest, prior to COVID, doing something over Zoom, I'd be like, no, I'll meet them at their gig, I'll do it there, it's fine, which I still
right.
prefer, but just the ability to do it this way is also fantastic.
Exactly.
Um, Now I'm going to jump back to the songs on the album again, because I completely skipped past a question. What track from the new record are you actually most looking forward to playing live for your fans?
Ooh. I think probably Siren Song, potentially, the first one, this opening track. Um, it's very energetic, and there's just a lot going on. I think it's going to be a great opener. It's a great way to open the album, and I think it's going to be an even better way to open a live show. So I'm going to go with that. Although there are a few, but I talk a lot, so I'm going to go with just Siren Song as my simple answer.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, I like it when you talk a lot because otherwise it's going to be a very short interview, sir.
Exactly. I have a tendency to ramble. So
Don't worry, rambling is the best thing in the world. Absolutely the best, especially when, as I say, we're chatting. Now, if you could collaborate with absolutely anyone, musician-wise, and I'm going to add on that, they may not even be alive anymore. Who would you like to collaborate with if you could collaborate with them?
Well, I know personally because I am an absolute. I talk about them so much, it makes my friends sick, and it probably makes my bandmates sick too. But Blink 182 is my all-time favorite band, so I can't not say them because personally, that's what I would love, and I'd be lying if I said anything else. Like even like I've always said that I'd love to see Travis Barker just play in a studio or a room just to hear his creativity come out. So that would be mine personally. But I think as a band, it would either be Alkaline Trio or The Cure, because they're kind of our two main, I guess, pull-in points for how we're sort of like our common ground in what we like, but also showcases the two, although similar worlds in terms of darkness and all that kind of thing, but they both showcase two very different parts or elements within one genre. So it would either be Alkaline Trio or The Cure, I'd say. Probably The Cure, because they're The Cure and Robert Smith is a genius. So
That's true. I will give you that. But I will still keep my fingers crossed that somehow Travis Barker comes up to you at a show one day at a festival or something and goes, "Hey, man, you up for a collaboration of sorts?" And you'll be like, "In."
Yeah,
Do it. That'd be fantastic.
I would. I have met him once, but twice actually. But I was a much younger person and probably,
much more fanboy.
Exactly. I didn't want to know
Fine.
That's correct.
We've all been there. Now, I've only got one more question for you. And this, what I used to do at the end of all my interviews is tell a joke, but I'm completely running out of them, and I've repeated a few times. So YouTube is getting sick of me doing that. So I'm going to start changing it up this year, and I'm closing my interviews with what I like to call tales of touring terror. So what I need from you is, have you got a story where there's perhaps something that's funny that's happened, gross, or perhaps insanely embarrassing as an experience for yourself, or even as a band? You might want to throw one of them under the bus, perhaps.
It's a really good question. To be honest, we've been very lucky with the band. I don't want to disappoint people, but we've never really had anything. I tell you one thing that did happen. I'll tell you.
Thank God for that.
I've got one. I was going to have to go back to when I was really young then, but no, I'm going to go with this. So my cat is here. Hello.
Oh, don't worry. I've shut my cats out. What have you called your cat?
Nala. Nala.
Sorry?
She's Nala.
Nala.
Nala. Yeah.
Very nice.
Okay, so we she's taking me away. We were given the opportunity to support Funeral for a Friend, who are one of my all-time favorite bands, and a great inspiration for us as people. Obviously from the same place as us, or roughly the same, same area. And it was the anniversary of Casually Dressed, which was a huge album when we were younger, etc., etc. So we played this 20-year anniversary show, and Dashboard Confessional were also playing, who were a huge deal. They're one of Ellie's favorite bands, one of Adam's favorite bands too. So here we are on this bill with those two acts, it's a huge deal. We're opening the show, and I'm playing, and we played the first song, everything was great, and I'm playing, and as I go into the second song in the set, I think it was, my guitar strap snapped. It just went bong. And everyone's like looking at me like, what the, do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, I've ruined the set, And I feel like Chris from Dashboard Confessional. So I feel hands behind me, and someone's like strapping me in, with like some tape, and I'm like, what the? Do you know what I mean? And I look around, and there's Chris from Dashboard Confessional, who's this like massive songwriter, huge celeb, and he's like helping me out. And I was like, wow. And he taped it all back together, and we were able to continue the set. But it was just such an amazing thing because he's such a that he's watching the set. You know, a lot of people say they watch sets, but majority of the time they'll just be like, oh, and then they'll go. But he was
Yeah.
obviously there long enough to see that, and then didn't feel above coming on stage and helping out a band when he could have just gone, well, I'll leave them to that. You know what I mean? So that was a really cool thing. So embarrassing for me through a second, but also really, really nice, and shows what a good person Chris from Dashboard is. So that's as good as I can give you until unless I go into loads of drunken stories.
No, that's absolutely fine. Just I've had people go, nope, we're not letting anything go. Because I have asked that question in the past, but this is going to be my one for this year. But firstly, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat to me today. You know, it's a Friday night. It is not the night to be in, although I'm in my 40s now, and a Friday night after work is quite literally couch, pasta, and a terrible movie, which I can't decide yet. I can't decide what I'm going to watch.
Don't blame me, man. Don't blame me.
Thank you to you, Ben. Thank you to Nala for her invasion and her cat bits that she shoved in the camera's face. Wonderful stuff. I locked my cats out today because I was not going to let that happen. See, my cats, I'll tell you this now, like my cats are Chewy and Tigger.
Lovely.
The names I wanted to give them were completely vetoed by the significant other. I wanted to call them Chairman Meow and Vladimir Putin because they're both dictators. But no, I was not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
But we love a pun here. Benjamin, thank you so much for chatting to us today.
Thank you, Damian. Appreciate you.
Album is out Valentine's Day, 14th of February. Make sure you get it on iTunes, get it on what's the other one?
Apple.
Apple, yeah, just Apple. Sorry, I'm a MacBook user.
Spotify.
That's it, Spotify.
And obviously pre-order it in the physical version if you can.
Definitely, yeah. Actually, yeah, let's go with that. Buy the album. Make sure they get the cash for it. Sorry. Thank you so much, sir. Take care. Enjoy your Friday.
Thank
Catch you soon.
Bye.
Bye.